What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and it's new release Saturday. Today we're going to be discussing the Apple original film Still, a Michael J. Fox movie. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said in the introduction, it's new release Saturday, and today we're going to talk about the Apple original film Still, a Michael J. Fox movie. A documentary basically of Michael J. Fox's life and career throughout his entire life, but primarily focusing on from when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's through now. And our movie opens in 1990 as Michael J. Fox awakens with a hangover after a night out drinking with Woody Harrelson. He notices that his pinky is twitching and it just won't stop. We then transition to the modern day and we see Michael getting situated in order to be interviewed for the documentary portion of the film. The interviewer asks Michael, before Parkinson's, what did it mean to be still? To which Michael replies, I don't know. I was never still. We then flash back to Michael's childhood, and he talks about bolting out of his front door at 2 or 3 years old and running to the candy shop, the birth of his sister when he was 3, and how by the time that he was 6 and she was 3, they were the same height. He talks about how shortness has plagued him through his younger years, playing hockey and getting bullied until he discovered the drama club. He talks about how his teacher showed him a casting call for a Canadian show called Leo and Me, which ran for only 12 episodes. Michael got the role of Jamie, Leo's nephew, and the casting director thought that due to his youthful look, other casting directors would jump at the opportunity to cast him. So Michael drops out of high school with the surprising support of his father, and they move to the slums of Beverly Hills. Michael scored some roles and commercials, including one for McDonald's, but they were barely scraping by. Michael says that he still had a chip and a chair, so he was still in the game. Then he walked onto the Paramount Studios lot and auditioned for the role of Alex Keaton in a show called Family Ties. He talks about how he ad-libbed the P for his middle initial in his first scene and how the show began to catch on. He then discusses getting the role in Teen Wolf and having yak hair glued to his face and shooting this B-level comedy while down the road, Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis were filming something and he wanted to know what it was. He then tells us how the creator director of Family Ties had been approached by Spielberg about having Michael star in his movie called Back to the Future. But at that point, there was no way he could let him out. So they cast Eric Stoltz instead, and he just wasn't right. Spielberg then came back, and although it was going to be costly, he wanted to reshoot all of Eric's scenes with Michael, and this time he was allowed to. He then goes through the details of the rigorous 3-month schedule that he had, bouncing back and forth between Family Ties and Back to the Future, with only 2 to 3 hours of sleep each night if he was lucky. During breaks from the interview portion of the documentary, we see Michael working with a personal trainer, trying to help him with his mobility and trying to get him to just slow down because his brain and his body want to move at such fast paces that he often falls down. Michael then talks about Tracy Pollan, a young actress who joined the cast of Family Ties from 1985 to 1987, playing Ellen, a love interest for Alex P. Keaton. She was then able to get a role in Bright Lights Big City, another Michael J. Fox vehicle. The two fell in love and got married in 1988, and they have been married ever since for 35 years, and they have 4 kids together: an older son named Sam, 2 twin girls, and a young daughter named Esme. He then recalls the day that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and giving the news to Tracy, after which she whispered to him, "In sickness and in health," which is part, of course, of the standard wedding vows. He talks about how his hand would start to twitch and tremor, so he would make a point of holding something in his left hand during scenes, or even covering it with a jacket, whether it was a pen or a phone base. That way, if he started to tremor, it wouldn't be as noticeable. He talks about how films like Life with Mikey, For Love or Money, and Greedy got horrid reviews and were box office bombs, which led him to becoming an alcoholic. He's now been sober for 31 years. Michael discusses his decision to return to television in Spin City, the positives on being on weekly TV: being close and more prominent in his family life. The negatives, the weekly show, and the live audience exasperated his symptoms to the point where sometimes his left hand tremors would get so strong that it would shake his whole body, which in turn would delay filming a scene, which would make the audience restless, which would worsen his stress and symptoms, as he hadn't made it public knowledge yet that he was dealing with Parkinson's. We then see Michael and his oldest child, Sam, his only son, sitting and talking on the beach, as Michael mentions that he's always been moving and attributes it to his being short. He talks about how Parkinson's has allowed him to be more present for his family, and as he begins to shake, Sam grabs his hand and arm to help him stabilize and relax. We then cut to Michael and his family walking down the beach as we fade to black and our movie comes to its end. This movie was really, really solid. A good, in depth documentary into the life and struggles of an actor that's been a part of my childhood and my life. You figure Family Ties started, I want to say it was 1982. I was 6. Back to the Future and Teen Wolf both came out in 1985. I hadn't even turned 10 yet. And then you think about everything else that he's done. And Michael J. Fox is one of those actors that's just been ever present in my life. So when I heard about this documentary, I was like, yes, absolutely, have to dive deep into this. It's well documented. My love for Michael J. Fox, as well as Jeff's love, especially as far as it pertains to Back to the Future. He calls it the greatest trilogy of all time. So I had to get into this film. And I knew from some of the trailers that it was mainly going to focus us on his struggles with Parkinson's and dealing with this now for 30 plus years, that he's known that he has Parkinson's and has been fighting this fight, and he's still here. He's still kicking. He's the eternal optimist. But what I didn't know was all the stuff about his career going into this. There were things that I knew. I knew about Eric Stoltz originally being cast in Back to the Future and having to reshoot all his scenes. I knew about the yak hair in Teen Wolf. I didn't know that he dropped out of high school. I didn't know about some of the other small stuff that he did. I didn't know he was in a McDonald's commercial. I didn't know that the P in Alex P. Keaton was an improvised thing that stuck. There's so much good stuff here. You think about all the successes that Michael had, especially in the 80s. And then you hear about how these movies in the 90s, Life with Mikey, For Love or Money, Greedy, all just tanked. And while personally I've never seen those films, because when they came out, there wasn't anything about them that really hooked me. So I feel like, I'm a little bit of why those movies didn't do so good because I didn't go see them and support them. But seeing all this stuff has really made me want to dedicate and focus on doing a Michael J. Fox spotlight at some point down the road for Renegades reviews and going through all those movies, with the exceptions of Back to the Future, which I've already done, Teen Wolf, which is a movie with one sequel, and Stuart Little, which is a trilogy. There are 3 Stuart Little films. Now, I know what you're saying. Teen Wolf 2 is Jason Bateman, not Michael J. Fox, but it is still a sequel to the original. So, just by default, you got to move it into movies with one sequel. Homeward Bound, same thing. There's 2 movies there. It's a movie with one sequel. But this was a fascinating journey through the life and career and struggles of Michael J. Fox. I remember watching a documentary about James Cagney on the Yankee Doodle Dandy 2-disc DVD that I own. And during that documentary, which was hosted by Michael J. Fox, he talks about how when kids his age wanted to be James Dean, he wanted to be Cagney. And I always loved that line. And I think about it now, and it's like kids my age wanted to be Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan. I kind of always wanted to be Michael J. Fox. I wanted to be Alex P. Keaton. I wanted to be Scott Howard. I wanted to be Marty McFly. I wanted to be Michael J. Fox, while all the kids around me wanted to be Michael Jackson and Michael Jordan. So it's really a full circle when you think about that line from one documentary and how watching another documentary makes you recall that line and kind of flip it. If you are a fan of Michael J. Fox, I highly recommend seeking out this documentary and watching it. I do not think you'll be disappointed. When it comes to my rating for it, we know I don't usually do 5 stars first time through. I enjoyed this so much, though, I am going to give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I definitely want to purchase it if it hits physical media. Apple, please put this on DVD, Blu-ray, something so I can add it to my library, my collection of other Michael J. Fox films. But I really enjoyed it. And again, if you grew up a fan of Family Ties, Teen Wolf, Back to the Future, The Secret of My Success, Bright Lights, Big City, Casualties of War, Light of Day, The Hard Way, the list goes on and on. Any of those movies, The Frighteners, Spin City, Stuart Little, check this out because I think it'll give you a new love and a new appreciation for Michael J. Fox, not just as an actor, but as a man, a human, and a hell of an insight into his struggles. Those of you that have seen still a Michael J. Fox movie, what did you think? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And make sure you guys tune in later on this evening, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media as we engage once again in and open up the doors to the Saturday night shenanigans that are open mic night. Myself, the West Coast professor Jeff Meacham, the simple man Noah Foster, the Hebe man James Hebert will all be in attendance, as will anyone from the crew who decides that they want to come through the doors of the club, step up to the microphone, and engage with us in the week of professional sports entertainment. And then tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, it's time once again to step into the war zone. That's right, it's time for another edition of the Weekly Acquisition Report, the show where I, the Renegade, show you, the viewers, the latest additions to my ever growing movie library. You don't want to miss out on any of that content right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, open mic night, the war zone, and then on Monday we kick off a brand new week of Johnny Depp movies, hitting it hard and strong with Donnie Brasco. Again, you don't want to miss any of that, so make sure you smash that like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or anytime we go live, as is the case with Statboy Sports Bar, Open Mic Night, pay-per-view PLE watch-along coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life, fans of Michael J. Fox, fans of documentaries, fans of Family Ties, Teen Wolf, Back to the Future. Anybody you can think of that would enjoy this content in this video, share it with them, as it's the only way we're going to keep my visibility up in YouTube's algorithms now that we are in fact a monetized channel right here on the platform. Thank you once again to everybody out there who joined me and tuned in today. It means so much more to me than you guys will ever know. And I will see you guys next time.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.